our pedagogy leaders, well, first of all, what is it? We put out an advert for them that asks just 2 questions. Do you consider yourself to be an outstanding teacher? And the key words there is consider yourself to be. About the individual. Then about do you believe that you have the capacity and the ability to help improve the teaching and learning others? So about networks, peer networks. And then finally, this was kind of like a proposal to them. Could they turn their individual outstandingness, however they conceived it, their perceived ability to help others, could they turn it into a system, into a structure, into something that would make the school a better place for learning about teaching and learning? So that was the question, and it was just a very short one-sided A4 with just a few bits and bobs on it. It wasn't hugely formed because actually the principles that underpinned it was that it was distributed. We wanted to really hand over ownership of teaching and learning. I'm a great believer in that. People at the bottom, people at the classroom, people who spend most of their time each day in classrooms with children are probably best placed to lead teaching and learning in school than the people who are least in classrooms each day. Yeah, we're senior leaders like myself. And so we wanted to create something that was genuinely focused on ordinary classroom teachers' experience and what they could do to shape teaching and learning in our school. As a result, it's very organic. There is no sense, really, of what's going to come next. There's some core principles, some underpinning principles, but for example, we've just appointed our second lot of head leaders today, and so therefore we don't quite know where teaching and learning is going to go next year, because that's their job. They know what the school improvement plan is, they know what we'd like to see happen in terms of children's, the outcomes for children, but we're not telling them what has to go into to make that happen. It's quite agile. Things change as we go along the route, but we've got some core beliefs that keep it all focused and central. It's a surplus model. It's built on the belief that every teacher has something to contribute to, every teacher can develop and get better, that all of the solutions to all of our problems are somewhere in our school, or if they're not, then they're somewhere in the local area around us. And because of that, the phrase off the bus, getting the teacher, you hear senior leaders say, well, Sam, we've got to get people off the bus. That's not something that we talk about. It's actually about how we get the best out of people, how we bring people forward. And the word pedagogy is rooted to this. Okay? So we have a student pedagogy day, and we use the word with the students as well. So it's a real focus as well. The background for the ideas for it came because we got some funding to build in capacity towards a teaching school. And I like the hub model of a teaching school. Those of you who know teaching schools, sometimes I think the worry is that they think they're better than the rest of us. Actually, a good teaching school is one that says it doesn't know any more than any other school, but is just taking on the responsibility of coordinating between the schools. And so you have the teaching school, a good teaching school that does that, and has strategic partners who they employ to help deliver what they have to do. And then they have alliance members who are like sleeping partners, but actually who perhaps don't yet know what they have to contribute, but they do have something to contribute. So it goes back to that surplus model. So when I was conceptualising the idea of pedagogy leaders, I wanted to kind of like think of them in a similar sort of way, that they would be a hub or connecting other teachers together. They wouldn't be offering anything particularly, it's not about their own expertise, but it's about their ability to connect. And we have, we've had, prior to Ped Leaders, we had a thing called OPP, the Outstanding Pedagogy Partnership or Programme. And so we have a number of teachers who are already giving up their free time. You probably might have similar sort of things after school on a Wednesday when it's not your normal meeting cycle, if you want to just come and talk and learn about pedagogy. So we wanted them to feel like they were engaged as kind of like strategic partners with the Ped Leaders. And for example, the first lot of Ped Leaders, there were 20 applicants, only 6 jobs. So these were people that, when we gave them feedback, we said, well, why not be a strategic partner with them? And then there were the other teachers, the teachers who have to go to a TLC meeting because that is in the calendar, but who won't have any extra time, and about connecting all of that together really, and so that it would work in this sort of way. That the Ped leader wouldn't be necessarily mentoring and wouldn't be kind of like saying, I do this, so therefore everybody else has to do it, but would be kind of like trying to, in that teaching and learning communities, try and link what people felt were their needs with what other people felt were their skills. But actually, the important thing in this diagram is the two-way nature of the arrows. So we have triad working, and within each triad, there are people who identify themselves as strong on teaching and learning, those who are not quite sure where they are with teaching and learning, some people who want to learn, some people who are not quite sure. And the pedagogy leader's job is just really to keep conversations going and find out. So that's how our TLCs work. And of course, across the school then, we have a system. We originally planned for 5, but such was the quality of the applications that we ended up with 6 ped leaders. But the idea is that these little clusters of teachers could also kind of like share across each other. And the role I play as a member of SRT is we have a ped team that's at the centre. That's just purely on strategic issues. How can we help the ped leaders? How can we support them? What can we do to give them more time with these groups of teachers to make improvements to their work? So that's kind of like the overarching structure. There's some things there about the role of the PEDs as we first put it down. And I think the key one here really is to help shape the future of the school. And this is what we put when we advertised for the role. This is what we wanted them to do, to shape the direction of the school and felt like they were genuinely contributing. So that's kind of like the philosophy that underpins it. Any questions? Any thoughts? Or shall I move on to what they actually do? Yeah. This is how we advertise it. 4 terms project management bursary. On top of your salary, whatever your salary. So whether you're an NQT, whether you were feasibly, you could be a senior leader if you wanted to be honest. Although you kind of like say to each other, no, you don't go for it. You could be at any level of responsibility that you would sit on. And it was a substantial sum, £4,500 that we gave to it. I'm very, very pleased. The head teacher gave me 6 lots of £4,500 to work with these people. That was partly because we'd had some cash come in for building a teaching skill capacity, but actually all of that money was channelled elsewhere. So this was an extra thing that she let us work with. She knew after 4 terms she could ditch it if it wasn't right. She hasn't. And that was one of the first decisions she made this year was to go for a second lot of pedagogy because she's seen how well they work, and I'll show you that in a minute. There's no weekly time, there's no timetable time. We've actually found slots for them now, but it wasn't, when we advertised it, there wasn't. But we found chunks. So if they needed to be together with the day of the timetable, that's what they needed. We found a big chunk to work together. We had 20 applications from around 60 teachers. Not all great in that first year, a few people chancing it, but some of them absolutely fabulous. We appointed 3 from science, 1 from English and drama and history. 3 of them were NQTs, because we started at Easter last year. That wasn't deliberate, wasn't this cult of the new. It was just we had 3 absolutely phenomenal NQTs that year, and they knew their stuff. They knew their pedagogy. They had good ideas. They lived and breathed it in the classroom. It wasn't just lots of ideas. An AST came on board, a head of department, and a TLR holders. The reason why we chose them, they had to have an outstanding lesson observation. If they didn't already have one, then we went in and saw them one morning, and if they got one that day, then we continued forward with their application. Still not sure about that. Because it's a one-off with showing lesson. But the other people on SRT were very keen that they had to have it to give them a sense with the other staff of that they genuinely do it. The main thing though was this, in their letters, a strong sense of individuality, a strong sense of self-expression about their teaching and learning. And they chose what they focused on for their application. They could have gone and done anything. We just said, we just want you to tell us what you think the vision for the school is for pedagogy. This is what came out. These are the 6 that got chosen. Interdependence came across really strongly in one. Challenge, our Able Gift and Talent coordinator said, it's all right me doing this, but actually I want it built into a plan into pedagogy. So they were the 6, and what we had already decided to do, we decided with our outstanding pedagogy group that we were going to bring the accelerated learning cycle, Alistair Smith's model, not the team model, although they're very similar, into the school. And so the very first day with the ped leaders, we said, right, can you align what you want to do? So these are their themes, applied them. Can you link them with the phase of the accelerated learning cycle? Not because it belongs there, but because it would be a way of teaching our staff the accelerated learning cycle and teaching them the themes, so linking them. We do realise that applied learning goes all the way through a lesson, but it was just a sense of for that first year of bringing the accelerated learning cycle in, making sure that was a focus with Consolidate. As the new PED leaders come on board, this will all shift around. But it was just a way of sort of meshing a structure with some ideology, some thoughts about it, to kind of create something coherent. And on our blog site, I call this our architecture for learning. It's a mesh. It's a safety net. It's a way of just fusing ideas about organisation all with ideas about principle. So that's how we mesh them together. They've led all of the insets. From the moment they were appointed, we had a summer inset last year. They ran it completely. Lazy teacher inset, introduction of the accelerated learning cycle, introducing of the themes. What we've done as SLT in the previous two, let them go to them, they let go to the rest of the staff. So on that day, 20 of our staff presented. Proper success for us. And then on February this year, they ran the student pedagogy day. We were going to call it Inter-Student Inset Day, but we thought none of them would turn up. So, the single teachers having the day off. So they came in, and that day mirrored what we've done with the staff in the lazy teacher and the accelerated learning day. They decide for those inset days what we do, how we do it, where we do it, and who does it. They have myself and the assistant head that I work with to bounce ideas off, but more often than not, they keep us out of the room and get on with it themselves. The delivery, as I said, has expanded beyond them. That was just some pictures of the day. The important thing was, in the formal evaluation, this has been typical audio. This kind of feedback about amazing positivity. Very, very few negative comments at all. Very few insipid comments. Not all that is, but the vast majority of that is. And what's happened with the last one, particularly the evaluation day, those comments got richer and deeper. So the first two were all about exams. Oh, this is the best inset I've ever had. But the third one was such quality that they were starting to talk about how it was going to infuse their teaching, how it was going to shape what they were doing. And that for me, and the PEDs could see that straight away as well, when they looked over the feedback, they were like, this is different, it's a different type. And I'm hoping that's going to continue, the deeper, richer. Like, I suppose, when you paint a wall and you put first coat on, then you put second and the third coat goes on, it just feels rich and deep colour. It's that sort of thing. Because we're starting now to overlay. That was the evaluation day. Those were the sessions. So we were able on the evaluation day to give teachers a choice of what they did. We ran our own teach meets for the first time, which were really successful. But there were 20 teachers engaged in delivery. There was something like 17 different sessions that were on. There were 3 that were repeated because lots of people bought into them. Staff had free choice. Go where you want. No direction. No heads of department. You have to send each of your members of department to different ones. It was free, complete freedom of choice, which the PEDs decided on. Then they also run our teaching and learning communities. They've run for a few years now, and in the past they've been discussion based. They've been sit around the table and talk about our best lessons and all that sort of thing. They've been very much a case of this vertical sharing best practice. I'm good, I do this, you're going to learn from me. And that's what we facilitated in the past. With the PED leaders who, again, have been given the responsibility to shape how they do this, they've been very much coaching based, and we've used, has everybody heard of the joint practice development model? If not, David Hargreaves, free literature, you can find it anywhere if you just type in JPD and David Hargreaves. Triad working, where instead of, you go to one person because they're the best teacher, you co-plan and then deliver a lesson. So you might have a PE English teacher and a drama teacher. You decide on your ideas together, and the English teacher will be the first one to go, trying those ideas that your triad has decided. When you then meet for feedback, it's how it went compared to what the 3 of you were planning, and then the next person says, right, I'm going to have a go, and I'm going to try and deepen it and take it a bit further from where you took it in your lesson. It's a more healthy model than best practice model. And again, in fitting with what our approach with the PEDs has been. Staff have free choice to go to their TLCs. Now, I know a lot of schools where TLCs, the SLT line up, right, who's the staff who's hard to work with, we'll put them there. We'll put them with really positive stuff. We didn't. It was absolutely free choice. Again, that came from the PED leaders. That was their insistence. They didn't want SLT making any sort of decisions. We listened to them. And that's that's a typical TLC these days. What the PEDs start with is a strategy, a technique, just